It's a story from Mika Trevino, so take it with a grain of salt. I'm sure there's things in here that can be verified, like the court cases. The Daughters of El Azul just lost a $28 million battle in court. They've been slugging it out in courtrooms for over a decade trying to rescue an alleged narco fortune from the clutches of the Mexican government. Good luck. Good luck with that, man. But this week, the daughters of Juan José Azul Esparragoza Moreno, one of the Sinaloa Cartel's most elusive and calculating power brokers, suffered another brutal legal defeat. A Jalisco judge shot down their plea to unfreeze over 28 million pesos in suspected cartel funds, leaving them with one less card to play in a saga marked by bureaucratic standstills and the ghostly presence of a kingpin who may or may not be unalived. Damn. A Jalisco judge shot down their plea to unfreeze over 28 million pesos in suspected cartel funds, leaving them with one less card to play in a saga marked by bureaucratic standstills and the ghostly presence of a kingpin who may or may not be unalived. All right, so is that the thing? Everybody, is that the he may be alive? Maybe he pulled a move, huh? Dang, he got that type of mystery behind him. But let's say that shit ain't frozen. Them 28 million gone, spent, out of there, dog. They done blew that already. They blew the bank with that. These people probably spend more money trying to get that money than anything, and that ain't happening. Background: a long, quiet investigation. Officially, this story starts in 2008 with so many stories. All right? I want to know what other major thing happened in 2008 other than the Flores twins, because it seems like that shit done toppled the fucking house of cards right there, boy. Officially, this story starts in 2008 when investigators first flagged a suspicious money trail they tied to the Esparragoza family. Unofficially, people who follow cartel politics would tell you it's the natural outgrowth of what El Azul did best. Stay quiet, stay rich, and move the kind of dirty money that bankrolls entire armies of foot soldiers. When the Financial Intelligence Unit and federal prosecutors froze the Esparragoza sisters' assets in 2013 bank accounts, cashier's checks, and all those who know how these cases drag on weren't surprised. In Mexico, once the government sinks its teeth into a stash they suspect is narco gold, they clamp down hard, whether or not they actually have the evidence to back it up. Holy shit. But again, this is very fantastical writing, but it comes from our least favorite fantastical writer. So don't get too excited. El Azul is or was one of the most elusive narcos along with Mayo. See, the fact that nobody has his body in custody, the mystery can go on that he's a ghost. There's still people that tell me, that's not Mayo. Okay. This is funny. This in Mexico, once the government sinks its teeth into a stash they suspect is narco gold, they clamp down hard. I saw a video today of a cop. The lady was pounding her head against the cage, and the cop went in there to stop her, and she latched onto his arm, and he started rocking her with right hands. Boom, boom, boom. But this pit bull wasn't letting go. He damn near had to crush her shit. That's how these the Mexican government is on these stash, boy. They got the teeth clamped down on it. Brenda, Guadalupe, and Nadia, Patricia had already caught the eye of the U.S. Treasury by 2012. Their names landed on a blacklist that labeled them financial operators for their father's criminal empire. From then on, they became official suspects, not just the daughters of a rumored legend. But blacklists and rumors aren't always enough in the court of law. Over the next 10 years, the sisters filed amparo after amparo lawsuits meant to shield them from what they called a baseless asset seizure. Those two women said, we're going to be rich. A cojones, we're going to be rich. They're going to have to give us this money back. Don't you understand? You got no rights when it comes to that money. El Azul shadow. El Azul is the kind of kingpin that even hardened cartel watchers speak of in hushed tones. He wasn't flashy like El Chapo, nor was he the brash commander that El Mayo can be. Instead, he was the brains, the tactician, the adult in the room, who quietly built the financial scaffolding that kept the Sinaloa cartel thriving. People say he was unalived in 2014. Others insist he faked his own termination. Either way, he's out of the picture, at least physically. But his money? That's a different story. Every time a judge or prosecutor sees the name Esparragoza, the assumption is that the pot of cash in question must be dripping with cartel profits. Legal wrangling, delays and doubts. Prosecutors painted the funds as dirty from day one. Proceeds from rug trafficking funneled through a labyrinth of front companies and shell accounts. I would think he's alive if they were fighting for if the girls are fighting for that bread that hard. It sounds like he's the consigliere on that shit, if that makes sense. Anyways, prosecutors painted the funds as dirty from day one. Proceeds from rug trafficking funneled through a labyrinth of front companies and shell accounts. But year after year, the evidence remained murky. Judges demanded real proof, transaction records, witness statements, something that backed up more than blacklists and allegations. None of it appeared. In 2023, the sisters seemed to be on a winning streak. A federal judge in Jalisco tore into prosecutors for failing to produce anything concrete after a decade of investigation. Same thing the court's going to do here. Your evidence, whatever. We're going to hit every loophole we can hit until we get what we need to get. And they want that. Millions. A federal judge in Jalisco tore into prosecutors for failing to produce anything concrete after a decade of investigations. They just holding that money up. He unblocked a hefty cashier's check worth 20 million pesos and 2 Ban Capel accounts. Other courts followed suit, demanding the government either justify their perpetual freeze or cough up the money. Judges hate indefinite limbo, and the case was starting to smell like it was rotting on the vine. Meanwhile, the daughters kept protesting that this was harassment by association. Just because their father was a rug lord doesn't automatically mean their bank accounts are tainted. They on that ass for that money. Extinción de dominio, a new tactic. With the clock ticking and courts demanding progress, the Fiscalía General de la República decided to switch weapons. Instead of relying on the old "we're investigating so the money stays frozen" argument, they invoked extinción de dominio, civil forfeiture. Ooh, that's the dirtiest. You know what that's called? That's called governmental theft. Civil forfeiture. This legal route lets the government permanently seize property linked to criminal activities, even if nobody is criminally convicted. They figured if standard asset seizures was bogged down, maybe a direct civil forfeiture case would do the job. The sisters, of course, fought back again, insisting the government was trying to bulldoze due process, which indeed they were doing. They wanted a hard stop placed on the forfeiture process until the courts could once again pick apart the FGR's threadbare evidence. But in April 2025, Judge Jesus Teriquez Basulto denied their plea for a permanent suspension. That means the extinción de dominio case marches on, full throttle. The sisters still hold some appeal options, but the government has its foot on the gas. Look at these other shell companies, laundering. We got El Chapinskis, El Mayo, El Azul. Who we got here? Boom. He got what? He got 2 wives. Doubled up on the wives tip. If he was alive, then they wouldn't be fighting for that little 20 million. What you mean? That would insinuate that he has more? Maybe he's alive with nothing. It costs to run and hide, bro. Maybe he's on the run with nothing. But yeah, anything's possible. He could be gone. He could be terminated. He could have passed away in his sleep from natural causes. What do we know? This is more than just a big chunk of cash caught in the legal tug-of-war. It's a front row seat to the clunky machinery that is Mexico's fight against narco financing. No one disputes the need to go after the rug money, especially the massive fortunes that fund endless cycles of violence. But the state too often struggles to present airtight cases. They rely on indefinite freezes to hold assets in place and hope something incriminating turns up. Like, they just hold your money and wait for you to fuck up. Go ahead, jaywalk. I dare you. I dare you to jaywalk. Make a move. Meanwhile, individuals who've never been convicted and may never be are left in limbo. If the judge had sided with the sisters, the government would have looked feeble for tying up 28 million pesos for over 10 years without delivering a shred of bulletproof evidence. That's crazy. There should be a cap on that shit, you know? There should be a cap on how long you can just hold up somebody's bread. Because at that point, let's just say it's legal tender, right? You got your bread. You got all of the things that you own and that you have running. If my money's legal and you holding it up, you just cost me everything else. Because now I can't cut the grass, pay the light, pay the gas, none of that shit. Now you holding up my money for 10 years, I got nothing. Then you find out that I'm all good, too late, bro. If the judge had sided with the sisters, the government would have looked feeble for tying up the 28 million pesos for over 10 years without delivering a shred of bulletproof evidence. But letting suspected Bartel money slip back into circulation carries its own stink. Everyone's worried about the optics. For the FGR, losing high-profile cases like this screams incompetence. That's the right word. And if that's the word, cool. You're incompetent. Give up the bread. Take the L. Nobody wants to hold their L. Yeah, that civil forfeiture is a scam. They did that to MC Juice. For the courts, ignoring due process, which don't exist here anymore, in the name of public sentiment, can unravel what rule of law Mexico does have. Listen, y'all are just holding up dudes' money. That's a stick-up. That's all that is. We know it is Bartel money, but you can't prove it. So get your filthy, grubby hands off my bread. Waiting for the final word. At this point, the 28 million pesos remains locked away. Shit. No one's spending it. No new mansions in Guadalajara. No government auctions funneling narco cash into public programs. The battle's at a critical juncture. The Extinción de Dominio lawsuit could render a final judgment that forever assigns the funds to the state or forces the government to relinquish them to Brenda and Nadia. But if there's one thing we know about Mexico's court system, it's that the final judgment can take years. Their grandbabies will be the ones looking for that money. In practical terms, the sisters will still have a sliver of hope. Their lawyers are already working the appeals angle, determined to show that 10 years of confiscation without a solid indictment proves prosecutorial overreach. But for the moment, the FGR has the upper hand. Judge Teriquez gave them the green light to push this forfeiture all the way. Final thoughts. Ooh, Mika's final thoughts. You don't have to be a legal expert to see the parallels here. El Azul may be gone, but the empire he helped build keeps pumping out controversies, lawsuits, and headlines. Mexico's justice system is often caught between wanting to punish anyone wearing the Bartel label and needing to follow the law, even if that means acknowledging a weak case. While the daughters claim innocence, they're forever branded by their father's name, and unless they can hammer home a decisive legal victory, the government will keep coming, determined to chalk up a symbolic win against a man who slipped through their hands years ago. It's not just about money. It's a tug-of-war over reputation, legitimacy, and the lingering ghosts of one of the narco world's most understated kingpins. You already used that one. Symbolic wins. That's kind of what we were talking about when we were talking about the family continues to sue. The family continues to, Kiki Camarena's family continues to sue the Sinaloa Cartel. They continue to sue Rafael Caro Quintero, Don Neto. They sue these people for those symbolic wins, to keep turning the knife in them, to keep letting them know, boom. You know? We're gonna follow this to the ends of earth. For now, 28 million pesos sits in a bureaucratic vault, untouchable, bullshit, unsettled and haunted by the specter of El Azul. Whether this is justice or a judicial rabbit hole depends on who you ask. But in a land where fortunes are made and lost overnight, and where the dead don't always stay dead, the story's far from over. As long as there's money on the table, the game continues. No mommies.
No mommies, wait.
Think about it. Azul done faked his termination. He's sitting there reading this. He's like, damn, man, the court's done held up all my bread and shit. And then he reads, for now, 28 million pesos sits in a bureaucratic vault. He starts thinking, where's that vault at, right? He go to hit the vault and get his money back, right? No money there. This is all numbers in the sky, man. So there it is. We'll keep an eye on that. See if they ever get the money. It's these two right here that's trying to get that paper.